is peaking and business is, well, not business as usual, as the week has been very dramatic, with the xenophobia attacks taking center stage and disrupting businesses. There has also been much liquidity for the Kenyan shilling, seeing the dollar a bit bullish, but more on that is still to come. My name is Lucy Riley and welcome to the Day's Counter at the top of the hour. Later on, we will be speaking to experts in the real estate industry, talking about thriving in the real estate business. But first, let's delve into the top stories. Welcome to the top stories. Now, Kenya Airways has dropped its offer to run JKIA. This happened 10 months down the line after it submitted embattled proposal. Parliament voted in June to nationalize KQ due to increasing debts that threatened to collapse the company. The Transport Committee from the National Assembly recommended for the holding company to be established with 4 subsidiaries, that's KAA, KQ, JKIA and an aviation service college that will run independently. Now, KQ had passed a proposal for the formation of a subsidiary dedicated to managing operations at Kenya's largest airport for a concession period of 30 years. Now, the Kenyan shilling is expected to be steady against the dollar, supported by inflows from offshore investors buying government debt and tightening liquidity in the money market. Commercial banks quoted the local unit at 103.15 compared to 103.00. Now, that was last Thursday. This is expected to hold steady against the dollar in the next week to Thursday. Safaricom CEO Michael Joseph claims Telkom and Airtel companies owe the company more than 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. He asked the companies to pay the alleged dues before proceeding with the merger. Safaricom also claimed the merger would result in a heavy imbalance in the bandwidth. The imbalance was reportedly supposed to be agreed and an amicable solution arrived at before the merger. Telkom Kenya CEO Mugo Kibet, however, accused the most popular communications company in the country of being afraid of competition. Right now, informing the question of the day today is yesterday's report on the fact that investors and developers are shifting from high-end residential sectors to low-end residential sectors. And that forms the question of the day today, which is, what would make up the key ingredients in a successful real estate business? What would make up the key ingredients in a successful real estate business? Tweet us to @TV47KE and @Lucy_Riley with the hashtag DaysCounterKE. And now for the Business Voices segment. Is a wine producer in South Africa and an owner of Bushman's Pad. Bushman's Pad Estate, a top quality red wine project situated high in the slopes of the spectacular Langeberg Mountains in the Western Cape of South Africa, offering high-class wine and accommodation. The name of the firm relates to the time when Bushmen came over to the mountains to do trading in the valley. The old trail and the kloof in the rocks above the water dam still shows records of those days. Now, for the wine lovers, let's listen in.
I am proudly presenting my products to Kenya at this show, and I'm happy that we have the chance that an African product can be sold in another African country, because I think that Africa should focus on their other neighbors and other countries in the continent to produce a market where they benefit each other. Because too many products from Europe are here on the shelves, while the products from South Africa and other countries are staying a little bit underdeveloped. That is my message I give to the people in Kenya. Buy the products from South Africa, and maybe it will reach out that the Kenya coffee gets better sold in South Africa, because I noticed that the Kenya coffee is a beautiful product. I really enjoyed drinking coffee here.
Now let's take a look at how the commodities are selling in various counties across the country. Now for kales, we have a 50-kilogram bag selling at 600 shillings only in Nakuru, which is the cheapest relatively compared to Kisumu, which is 1,800 shillings. A 90-kilogram bag of dry maize is selling cheapest in Nakuru at 3,000 Kenya shillings, while the most expensive is selling in Kisumu at 4,400 bob. Moving on to onions, we can see that onions are performing relatively well in Nakuru. It's 650 shillings once again. Life seems to be cheap over in Nakuru compared to other counties. Now for tomatoes, it's a tie between Mombasa and Nakuru at 3,500 shillings per 65 kilogram of tomatoes. Now you know how various commodities are selling across the country. Now, welcome to the business news. The Upper House on Thursday resolved to take the 316 billion shilling as contained in the republished Division of Revenue Bill currently before a mediation committee of the two houses. We will keep you updated on the subsequent bulletins. Now moving on, HFC Group has launched the HF WhatsApp banking solution to offer consumers solutions. Now the customized banking services makes the bank the first in the region to go live with the product. The service will allow customers to interact with their various banks for functions such as virtual account opening, loans, bill payments, among others. To access the service, the customers are expected to save the bank's WhatsApp phone numbers, after which an access to the platform will be provided on a personalized basis. The other important drivers of the development include internet connectivity and mobile adoption. Moving on, many parts of West and Central Africa are witnessing increased hostility towards education by warring factions. The number of schools forced to close due to rising insecurity in conflicted and affected areas in the region tripled between the end of June 2017 and 2019. Here's more.
More than 1.9 million children have been forced out of schools in West and Central Africa due to the upsurge in attacks and threats of violence against education across the region, the UN Children Agency, UNICEF, has said in a new report. As of June 2019, over 9,000 schools were closed in Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mali, Niger and Nigeria as a result of insecurity, triple the number recorded at the end of 2017. The report, titled Education Under Threat in West and Central Africa, warns that deliberate targeting of schools, students and teachers is sweeping across the region, denying children their right to learn and leaving them and their communities in fear of their lives. UNICEF Deputy Executive Director Charlotte Petri and UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador Muzun recently traveled to Mali to witness the impact of rising insecurity and violence on children education and safety.
So here in Mopti we have met with many displaced children who actually access temporary education. But it's really, it's obvious here, one, that education means a lot to them, but also the real challenge and appalling situation, because what we know is that over 900 schools has been closed down.
Along with over 900 in Mali due to an increase in violence in both countries. In the Central Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have witnessed a six-fold increase in school closures due to attacks and threats of violence in just over 2 years, from 512 in April 2017 to 3,000 in June 2019. The four countries affected by crisis in the Lake Chad Basin, Cameroon, Chad, Niger and Nigeria, stayed at roughly the same high level, varying from 981 to 1,054 between the end of 2017 and June 2019. UNICEF is working with education authorities and communities to support alternative learning opportunities, including community learning centers, radio school programs, and technology to enable students continue learning.
There are so many children and young people who give up on education because of violence, And I can tell you, all those children are so inspiring, and they are so courageous, and they deserve to go to school because they know education is the lifeline which can help them and protect them of so many problems such as abuse and sexual exploitation. But you cannot learn when you are afraid.
UNICEF is also providing tools for teachers who work in dangerous locations and psychosocial support and care for school children. Children in conflict-affected areas of West and Central Africa account for 1 in 4 children globally who need humanitarian support, including education and other services critical to learning.
Very interesting indeed. Now moving on, Resonate Africa empowers women through storytelling. They have trained more than 6,000 women in Rwanda and now moved the initiative to Kenya. TV47 had a sit down with Miss Norette during her visit to Kenya, and here's more on that.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. Please introduce yourself, tell us what you do and why you're in Kenya this particular time.
My name is Norette Turimuchi. I'm the executive director of an organization called Resonate, and we're a nonprofit social enterprise that builds the leadership of women and youth in East Africa. We're based in Rwanda, but we're here in Kenya as we're trying to expand our programs, our leadership programs to more partners in Kenya.
So maybe you can tell us, I trust that you have a workshop going on in Kenya. Tell us what do you teach in these workshops? What is it going to be all about?
Just to give you a little context, as an organization, we believe in gender equality. And for us, that means equality or equal access to opportunities for women and the youth. But we also know that a huge barrier to that equal access is the confidence gap. And that's basically us as women sometimes not feeling as confident as men. And there's a lot of evidence that prove that men are more self-assured than women. And that translates into missed opportunities for us as women. So being painfully aware of this barrier to us becoming the leaders we know we can be, at Resonate we designed leadership trainings, leadership workshop that focus on building confidence using storytelling. And we have been doing these trainings in Rwanda for the past 5 years, and we feel that now is the time to bring it to Rwanda, and we're running some demo workshops with potential partner organizations here, but also looking forward to coming back in a couple of months and delivering trainings and workshops with more organizations.
So this is your first time in Kenya, and maybe you can tell us how many people are you expecting for the workshop?
We are hosting a networking reception this evening, and we're expecting about 80 guests from different organizations that all work with women and youth that provide technical skills training, hard skills training, education to women and youth here, and that can then partner with us so we can integrate our leadership training into their overall programming. And the idea here is that women and girls or women and youth need both the education, the knowledge to know how to do something, but also the confidence to be able to do it. And the belief in themselves, being able to believe that they're leaders so they can use what they've learned and turn it into businesses and jobs and real opportunities. So we'll be meeting organizations that we can complement in the work that they're already doing, so we can amplify impact for everyone and benefit the women and youth here in Kenya.
Why did you choose Kenya? And have you been to other countries before, apart from being in Rwanda for the past 5 years, you said, right?
Yes, I have been to Nairobi a few times, and I have talked to a number of partners who were interested in the idea. I think as Resonate, we needed to really build to establish ourselves firmly in Rwanda before being able to expand, and we're at that point now. So having had good relationships with organizations here, Kenya sounded like a great place to start, which is why we're here. But we're also exploring expanding our programs to Tanzania. We'll go there at the end of the year, and Uganda in the first part of next year.
How much is the registration? Maybe you could tell us for people who are interested. Or is it too late to register now?
For the networking event, it is too late to register. We've reached our capacity. And actually, the networking event and the demo were free of charge because we want this to be a time to build relationships, find organizations that are really mission aligned, that believe in empowering women and youth here in Kenya. And for the demo workshop, it's a way for these organizations to experience what our training feels like. Our core program is called Storytelling for Leadership. And it's a unique framework where we use storytelling to help women understand or realize how resilient they are based on their story, how strong they are. And through sharing with other women in the workshops, they start realizing that they're capable of much more, addressing the confidence gap, and they can then take on the leadership roles in their communities. We've seen, based on impact measurement we did last year, that 60% of the women that we trained took on leadership roles in their communities. 36% of them started businesses, and 43% of them took on a new job, got a promotion, or had an academic advancement. And these are numbers we're really proud of, and this is why, because we know we have an impact and we've measured it and it's proven, we want to be able to expand it to Kenya, because the confidence gap is a global problem. I think when I talk to women, usually they can relate as soon as I say the confidence. We need to work on that. So we're confident that it will add value to the work that's already being done here.
I'm sure you know Safaricom. They're saying that there's 50% of the employees in Safaricom are women. And that's a company that's making lots of money. I'm sure you, being from Rwanda, you know a lot about Safaricom. What impact do you think an organization has when it comes to hiring more women than men in terms of economic and money and returns? What's your take?
I think that going back to gender equality and equal access, I don't necessarily think that it's about having more women than men in an organization. I think it's more about giving everybody the same chance to access these jobs. And meaning companies being more intentional in making sure that women are able to apply and that the environment they're going to work in is going to be safe for them. But in the end, when an organization does that, when a company like Safaricom does that, and you have a 50-50 representation, it's a win-win. Because you want different perspectives. You know, women and men, we can all be leaders. We bring different strengths to our leadership, different perspectives. So when your customers are women, it is important to have women leaders in your organization who can understand and relate to the customer you're trying to serve. So I would definitely encourage more organizations to pay attention to that and make sure women have the confidence and the ability to move up the ranks as well. Because sometimes you can have 50% representation in a company, but not at all levels of the organizations. When you look at certain board of directors or, you know, when you start looking at director levels, you sometimes don't see the female gender represented there. And that's something we need to work on.
What do you promise Kenyans to take out of this workshop?
I promise that we will do our best to build the confidence of the women that they're working with. We will work together to make sure that the time, the resources, the funding that is invested in programs that build the skills of women, whether they're vocational training programs, education, technical skills training, that this funding will turn into results because we've addressed the soft skills, the leadership, and the confidence that women and girls need to use these skills that they've learned.
Anything else you want to share? Parting shot.
I love to, first of all, thank everybody for the welcoming, for the warm welcome that my team and I has received here from you, from every partner I've talked to so far has been wonderful, and they've given us the time to get to understand what we do. And I just look forward to establishing strong and lasting relationships with organizations here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive report. The World Bank, the number of people, especially those in Kenya, are among the latest concerned, or even the least rather concerned about their security online safety. The statistics based on a 2019 global survey on internet security and trust that only 4 out of every 10 users go back to their check on their personal data online. Kenya has a 44% level of concern, a position only worsened by Kenya's lack of data protection law. Now, moving on, one of the many auditing, assurance, consulting, financial advisory and risk advisory firms in Kenya has been named among the most valuable and strongest commercial and professional brands in the world. According to a recent release named the Brand Finance Commercial Service, Deloitte has a brand strength of index 91.2%, hence placing it as the fourth strongest brand in the world. Now, the brand that can be mentioned among the longest established professional services firm in the world, especially East Africa, and has continued to grow in strength and has managed to get an elite AAA plus brand strength rating. Let's have a look at how the Kenya shilling is trading against other currencies today. Right now, the Kenya shilling is edging lower against the dollar as a result of excess liquidity in the market and hard currency demand outweighing supply. The shilling has been oscillating between the 103 and 104 level against the dollar. Now, it's not all bad news, as this can be an advantage to exporters who get to earn more when they make their sales in dollars that are then converted to shillings upon preparation back home. Right now, it's time to take a short break, and when we come back, we have a lot in store for you in terms of thriving in the business and real estate business industry. Do stay with us.
Wiki hii kwenye sauti yetu. Mwimbaji, vile mwendeshaji bodaboda. Sanaa ya vyuma.
Kuna wakati niliponea sana kidogo ningeuliwa kwa sababu nilikuwa nimeiba groundnuts peke yake.
Hadithi yake na nyimbo zitakupa matumaini. Usikose kutazama sauti yetu kila siku ya Jumamosi saa 3:30 asubuhi. We worship you, our Lord.
Tuanze sasa.
Nipe countdown. 2, 1.
Na kuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Wetevye, kaunti ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.
Usiwache hiyo dream ipotee.
Kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine na maisha isonge mbele.
Mabadiliko haya yangali yanazua msuke baina ya washikadau.
Baadhi ya changamoto hizo zilikuwa ni kama vile ukosefu wa maarifa.
Wameweza kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya.
Tutaingia kwenye mapumziko kidogo.
Chavi! Na hii, mpenzi mtazamaji, ndiyo
TV47,
macho na sauti yetu.
Huu ni mji wa Kitale unaofahamika kwa ghala la chakula kwa taifa la Kenya, mji ambao unapatikana katika kaunti 026, yani kaunti ya Trans Nzoia. Kutoka hapa tutakujuza matukio ya kipekee na kufahamisha matukio hayo kwa ufasaha mkubwa wa aina yake.
Nyanya yetu inaharibikia kwa barabara. Juzi tumekuwa na mama ndaka amejifungua, lakini hakuna pikipiki, hakuna gari yenye inaenda. Bunge kama ni Bokose, ako wapi? Akikuja aonekani.
Kutoka mji wa Kitale, mimi ni Boniface Barasa na hii ni TV47.
Na yote yanayofungana hufunguka. Kila kukicha mapya yanasawazisha jana na ya leo.
Bila shaka hatuwezi kubadili muundo wa maisha yako, lakini hakikisho letu kwako ni kwamba tutahakikisha asubuhi yako inaanza katika mpigo uliobomba zaidi.
Inakuwaje Kenya tufunge Tanzania baada ya mechi kuimiliki?
Tunarauka nawe kwa uchambuzi wa kina wa taarifa mbalimbali.
Tutaangazia kaunti mbalimbali moja baada ya nyingine.
Mazungumzo na majadiliano yanayokujenga wewe nafsi yako.
Hatutasahau burudani, Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa.
Wiki hii kwenye sauti yetu. Mwimbaji, vile mwendeshaji bodaboda. Sanaa ya vyuma.
Kuna wakati niliponea sana kidogo ningeuliwa kwa sababu nilikuwa nimeiba groundnuts peke yake.
Hadithi yake na nyimbo zitakupa matumaini. Usikose kutazama sauti yetu kila siku ya Jumamosi saa 3:30 asubuhi. We worship you, our Lord.
Twende sasa.
Nipe countdown.
2, 1. Na kuletea matangazo moja kwa moja kutoka kongamano la 6 la ugatuzi hapa Kirinyaga County.
Hapa ni mjini Meru.
Tupo katika eneo la Wetevye kaunti ya Kiambu.
Hivi leo tuko Nairobi Cinema.
Hapa ni Kina, ukipenda Kinango.
Usiwache hiyo dream ipotee.
Kama huyu amekataa, tafuta mwingine, maisha isonge mbele.
Mabadiliko haya yangali yanazua msuke baina ya washikadau.
Baadhi ya changamoto hizo zilikuwa ni kama vile ukosefu wa maarifa.
Wameweza kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya.
Tutaingia kwenye mapumziko kidogo.
Safi!
Na hii, mpenzi mtazamaji, ndiyo
TV47
Macho na sauti yetu.
welcome back. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us here at TV47 Macho na Sauti Yetu. Now, just before we took a break, I actually promised you that we'd have two guests in studio that would be talking to us more about the real estate business and thriving in this particular industry. But before we get into that, let's have a look at the question of the day today, which is what would make up the key ingredients in a successful real estate business? What would make up the key ingredients in a successful real estate business? Now tweet us at TV47KE and at Lucy_Riley with the hashtag DaysCounterKE. Now in studio with me, I have from my nearest right, Anthony Noigibauer. I hope I said it correctly, yes, from MySpace Property. Yes. And then to my furthest right, I have Ted Marvin, who is an engineer at Metrics Integrated Consultants. Karibuni sana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So really, let's just get started. What is the place of real estate in today's economy? I can start with yourself, perhaps.
Okay. The first question that I heard you ask is, what keeps real estate thriving, or what keeps it going?
Yeah, what are the key ingredients?
The key ingredients keep it going. Huh?
Yeah.
Think about consistency, perseverance, strategy. You know, it's not something that is easy. Yeah, you have to keep being persistent. You have to keep following on something that you want to push on. For example, I'm in sales in MySpace. So what happens is that you can find that there's a deal that you're about to close, and you can get to that point where you're about to close that deal, and either the seller or the buyer pull out, and then you can get discouraged. But you have to keep moving on. You have to keep pushing forward. You have to make sure that that's just a milestone that you break through, a barrier that you break through, so you can go to the next level.
Right, and I like that you've actually said persistency, because Mr. Mwenda Thuranira, who was supposed to be here, he's been very persistent and said he had a deal to follow up with the clients that he had to follow up with in Mombasa.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's a very key ingredient. I'm glad you mentioned that. So keep going.
So yeah, exactly. In fact, that is actually a very good example. You know, yesterday we were in the office together and he got excited. You know, he's like, you know what? There's one thing I've been following for so long, and here it is. Yeah, so he booked the flight there and there and went to Mombasa to follow through with it.
Right.
But he's a good mentor. He's a good mentor, he's a good leader. And having him in the office and having mentors obviously inside the office is something which is, we grow in him. We grow through him.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and Ted, you are an engineer really, and you deal with the construction and really real estate. What do you think is the place of real estate in today's economy? How important is it, and what role does it play when you look at overall, and knowing that even it's one of the four main agendas, you know, affordable housing. So from an engineer's point of view and the technical aspect.
What I have to say first is that the real estate sector is just like any other business, and it's very evolutionary. Being that there's an increase in the rural to urban migration, there's need for developers to create both housings that are safe and that can accommodate the rising increase in the number of people that get to the urban cities. Yeah.
right? Even before we come back, because you've talked of safety and we've had cases time over where buildings are put up and within no time they're really falling down. And I'd like you to comment on that as we go along. But I want to hear perhaps again from yourself, Anthony, really how do you get your potential buyers to be informed about your listings?
Okay, social media, as you know, is one of the fastest growing and the fastest. Everyone is on social media, or majority of the population is on social media. Everybody who has a smartphone either has Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is that is there. So other than using the meet face-to-face kind of meeting interaction with our clients, is that we also post the listings on social media. We have our Facebook page, we have our Instagram pages, Twitter pages. We also have our website, yeah, where we keep just interacting with people through email as well. So we just keep reminding someone, like maybe a client, that we have a construction which is happening in Mombasa, like the one which is currently going on Twiga. So through social media and obviously meeting the person face to face is the best way. So at least you can monitor and see what they want, what they like.
Would you say that social media has brought in the majority of the customers and clients that come on board, or do you really combine the two, online and offline? And what percentage would you attribute to social media?
I think that social media has brought in a lot, in fact, majority of the clients, because they see it, they have it on their phone every single day, when they go to work, when they're in the matatu, when they're in the office, wherever they are, they're always on their phone. So as soon as I drop a listing or a house for sale or for rent, maybe in this area, that's the first thing they will see, even before you get to interact with them. They don't even know who you are until now you follow up on that particular deal that is happening, yes.
Right, maybe I can come back to you, Ted. Talk to me about now the case or scenario actually I mentioned to you just earlier on. What really can cause a building that's been well planned out, perhaps millions or billions have been pumped into this project. I want to presume that no business person ever wants to lose their money and have lives lost in the process. And so this building collapses as a result of probably the technical aspects of it. So talk to me about really what the problem is.
So first I would give advice to the developers. Before you do any venture on real estate, it's important that you get that engagement with the professionals, yeah? Because most of these structures, they fall down because of poor workmanship, poor use of materials, and amongst other things that include the conmen in the industry, yeah. So it's important that before you put a huge investment into it, you have to make sure that you are with the rightful people, the people who work with you through the stages of the design and the construction and the actual handing over of the project at its final stage.
Having worked with various developers and investors, in yesterday's report we actually discovered that a lot of them are shifting from high-end property and residential sectors to middle income and low income type of properties. What do you think is the cause of this? Perhaps you can comment on it.
The cause of it is, one, there's been a huge surge of the developers focusing on the high end. But at the same time, you see the market, they don't do a feasibility study. The market, knowing the market, what the market wants. Then now they realize that the actual majority are within the middle class. Yeah. So it's important that as a developer, you first of all do a thorough market search. Yeah. And know your market base before you actually invest in it. Yeah.
All right, and maybe coming back to you, Anthony, would you say that the majority of customers that you have been able to handle and seal the deals with are in the middle income, low income, or even just high end income? Would you distribute it equally? What is your comment on that?
Okay, at MySpace, actually, we deal with all kinds of clients. You know, we don't leave alone maybe someone who's from the lower class, or we don't just focus on people who are in the high end. We know that there's a variety of people that need housing. People need a place to live. People need a place to call home. So we deal with all kinds of people. We deal with from lower class, people who are looking for something to rent of about 10,000 shillings per month. And we can also sell properties which are maybe in Karen or in Runda, which are maybe from 50 million and above. So at MySpace, we actually, I don't give a percentage of how many people, but we deal with everybody. We deal with whoever comes our way, and we treat them accordingly. Yes.
What would you say is the direction that real estate is taking as a country, especially knowing that it's one of the big four agendas that we have, you know, creating affordable housing? So what direction are we moving into? Would you be able to comment on that?
Okay, the big four agenda is actually a very good idea for the housing industry, of course. This is why you find investors from abroad, like Tatu City, coming to invest here in Kiambu or in Nairobi. Then you find that there's another, industrial park, which is going to be in Ruiru bypass. Yeah, so you see that people are now knowing and getting to understand that everyone needs to live. People need a place to call home. It's bringing foreign investments into Kenya as well. So we're seeing that there's a bright future, actually. It's a bright future from Kenya, and even investors who are coming to invest here in Kenya for the sake of Kenyans and for the sake of fellow investors out there.
From a technical point of view and, you know, the construction bit of it, and especially when it comes to the engineering aspects, would you say there is a shift in the way that houses are built and how you really go about the basics from engineering drawing to putting up these buildings technologically? Are there any advancements that are helping make building and construction of houses better, faster, and more affordable?
Yes, there are technologies that are making the housings at a much more advanced stage. Like one, we have the adoption of BIM, Building Information Modeling, and this is just an Autodesk setup that enables proper project management of the entire construction process. We also have other design softwares. We can use Revit, amongst others, that ensure that the structures that are produced are of sound quality and at the same time appeal to the end user. Yes.
Allow me to just comment that you do seem quite young in the field,
Yeah.
and you are an engineer.
Yes,
so talk to me
yes.
about the opportunities of anyone really who might be right now in the university and they're studying to be an engineer, civil engineering, construction, and they want to get into this space. Of course, a little bit of research has revealed that you've been working even while you were in college. So really just comment about where the opportunities, where the jobs, are they there, and really where should one be focusing on?
As a student, when I was back when I was as a student in Masinde Muliro, I used to be very focused in the line of construction, and I knew that that was my passion. So first, I would really advise that if someone wants to get into this field, he first has to understand that what does he really want, yeah, and with that in mind, it will push him to getting to scale to greater heights, yeah. And the construction industry, it's a very good field. Civil engineering is actually, I can say, the best field you can want to get involved with. And the opportunities are diverse. If you're aggressive, the opportunities are there quite a lot. So I would really advise someone to look into it.
Right, so just being aggressive and even just keeping on following that line of path. Maybe you can comment on what the challenges are when it comes to setting up in this particular industry. So many people are interested in starting in real estate, but they don't understand what it really means. So I'm sure you have an idea, having worked in this industry for quite some time. What could be some of the challenges that are there?
Let me tell you, everybody wants to do business. Everybody wants to make their own money. Now they want to leave employment and try something new. But then, what I've realized with real estate, it's not just, okay, I have a piece of land and I'm going to build it, and then in the next few months, it's going to be ready. Don't forget, after you build that house, now you have to start looking for tenants. You have to start looking for people now to move in, to now repay the investments that you put in there. So it's not easy. This, with MySpace, we are a company which started in 2008, okay? So it's been over 10 years of running. We launched in Mombasa. We started in Mombasa, sorry. Then we grew ourselves to Nairobi. Now coming to Nairobi, being here over about a year, there's a lot of competition.
Sorry to cut you short. Would you say that Mombasa, I mean, you started in Mombasa in an area which is perceived to be business is slow. It takes time to attract customers, you know. And then really, would you compare the two markets and say it's better off there?
Okay, you can't compare because every city has its own niche. Every city has its own uniqueness. We started in Mombasa. That means that at least we have a foothold, a ground, and a label, a name in Mombasa.
Right.
So that's one of the positive things that we have in Mombasa. So yes, Mombasa is perceived as a slow city. But if you're persistent is the key word that even we use in the office a lot. Keep pushing, keep driving yourself. Make sure that if you want to achieve something, don't just let it go. When you came to Nairobi, of course, here it's chap, it's fast-paced, it's I have a property, you need it. Yes, if not, you look for somebody else, somebody who already has a property. So you can't necessarily compare the two. It's every city has its own uniqueness. But I feel like it's a good opportunity now to come to Nairobi. And now with the big boys, you know?
Right, with the big boys. And what's the downside of being in business? And even from a technical side of view or perspective, what's the downside of being in real estate construction business as well?
Oh.
Sure, let's start with him then,
Come again?
What's the downside of being in business, especially when you're looking at it from a technical point of view? Perhaps you obviously have the downside or the challenges, or really what draws you back as an engineer. You've set out your project, you probably have this timeline that, you know, this construction will be done at a certain period of time, this property will be done. However, there are always these things that hold you back, or bottlenecks as we call them. So what's the downside of it?
The biggest bottleneck that I've faced as I practice as an engineer is one, if you make a design according to the standard specifications, yeah, you go to site and you realize that the people out there are really messing up your work. So you have to make a constant follow-up, especially with in the construction industry. You have to make constant follow-up to ensure that the design standards that have been set are the ones that are being actually implemented on site.
Right.
Yeah.
And then perhaps you can close
Yes.
us off with that with that comment.
Continuing from what you said, by the way, being there during the construction, from the beginning, from the planning all the way to the finishing, all the way to getting the clients in, you as the developer are required to be there on site majority of your time. Because now, one, you have to control the people who are working on the ground. You have to make sure they're doing exactly what you ask them to do. Especially if you're working on a timeline. You know, there's a timeline. You're being told in the next maybe 2 years, this will be ready. That means you are attracting so many people and you're promising them something. You don't want to fail them. You don't want to let them down. There's a reputation that is behind that. The second thing that I'll have to point on a drawback would be funding. Yeah, if you're doing something for somebody, if you're constructing a building or something for somebody, then funding is important. Funding is key. Yeah, if you are not up to date with funding, if you're not giving us the full amount of money to construct the whole building, or if you're giving us in phases, will the money be enough to cover up the phase, and will it be ready as per the time that we need? Yeah, so funding and being on the ground, always being on the ground. Yes.
Right. So Raya, unfortunately, that's all the time I had with you for today. I am being instructed that my time is up, and this topic is definitely very broad, and we can't really come to the full exhaustion of what it means to be in real estate. And hopefully the next time we'll be talking about this industry. Of course, whatever topic you want us to talk about, send us your comments and your views and your feedback on our social media platforms. That's at TV47KE on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and that's at TV47 Kenya on YouTube. You can also follow myself and reach out to me on at Lucy_Riley. A few key pointers that we've been able to take home is being persistent, doing your feasibility studies, and really doing that market research, and being very, very aggressive with whatever it is that you're planning on doing in the real estate space. Thank you so much for the team that put this together, and I sure do hope to see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, only on TV47. That's Macho na Sauti Yetu.